Hello everyone. So in today's video, we're going to be working with MediaPipe just like in my previous video and Python so that we can create a face mesh in Python. And I'll explain all about what face mesh is later in the video. So first of all, what are we going to do in today's video? And on the right we have a GIF of this is going to be kind of like what the output of today's video is going to be. So first of all, I'll just introduce MediaPipe, which is the main module that I'm going to be using in today's video. And then I'll explain what face mesh is and how does the algorithm actually have all of these dots and how does it predict what the face is going to be. Then we'll check out what we're going to do in today's program. Then we'll get straight into the interactive demo, in which first of all we'll do all of the installations and creating a virtual environment, all of that. Then we'll do the video input because we're going to get our input for video from the webcam. Then we'll connect MediaPipe to our video input so that it creates the face mesh. And then finally, we'll have our output, and we'll test it out. So first of all, what is face mesh and MediaPipe? So what is MediaPipe? Well, MediaPipe is a software library that's created by Google, and they created it just like TensorFlow, and they have lots of machine learning models. So the difference between TensorFlow and MediaPipe, both of them are created by Google and they're both machine learning models, is that MediaPipe, it supports a lot of different project ideas, like for example hand tracking, box detection, object detection, face mesh, and much more. So they actually have in-depth documentation on lots of different programming languages, like for example Swift, Objective-C, Python, JavaScript, etc. So to go to the documentation, you just have to search up MediaPipe, and then here you can see that we have the MediaPipe documentation. And here it has, if you click Getting Started, you can get started with all of these different programming languages. But if you scroll down here, you can see these are all of the different project ideas and models they have for each one of these. So here we have face detection, face mesh, which we're doing in today's video, iris detection, hands, pose, holistic, hair segmentation, object detection, box tracking, and many more. So those are all of the services that MediaPipe offers, and it offers a bunch of models for those services. So that's what MediaPipe is. But now that you know what MediaPipe is, what are we going to be doing with it? Well, we're doing face mesh. So what is face mesh? Well, face mesh is basically, it gets a 3D model of your face, and for each frame in the video in this case, although you can do it with a static image, but since we're doing it with video, it's going to do this for each frame of the video. So it's going to get a 3D model of your face, and it combines face tracker and face geometry, two models that get it together to make face mesh. So it actually has 468 3D landmarks that it finds in your face, and then those are all the different dots you can see on this little girl's face. So it points out all of those landmarks, and we'll actually be going a step further to get the border around your face, your iris, and your mouth and nose. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's demo. But next, let's check out what are the steps to do that. So first of all, we're going to be creating a virtual environment and doing all the installation for first of all MediaPipe and OpenCV, which we're going to be using to get the video input. Then we'll just initialize the OpenCV and camera video input. Then we'll use MediaPipe to actually do the detection and point out all of the landmarks. And then finally we'll get our final output, getting first of all just the 468 landmarks. Then we'll get the border of the face, the iris, the nose, mouth, all of that. So, now that you know what MediaPipe is in face mesh, let's actually use those to do face mesh in Python. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to Atom, and here I have my program that I'm going to code in. So it's called facemesh.py, and I'm in the same folder that I have in my terminal. So here I'm in my terminal, and then I have the same folder. So this is where I'm going to do all the coding. But before we do the face mesh, I have to actually install all of the dependencies and packages. So the only thing we're going to be using today is OpenCV and MediaPipe. So MediaPipe, obviously it's for the algorithm, and OpenCV is to actually get the webcam input. So to create a virtual environment, you would say python3 -m venv, and then whatever you want to call your virtual environment. In my case, I always call it env. But since I've already created my virtual environment, then after you do that, it'll take a bit, and then you have to say whatever it's called. So in this case, mine is called env, /bin/activate. So first you have to say Python 3 minus mvenv, then you have to say source, and then whatever it's called, /bin/activate. And then this will activate our virtual environment. And you can see here it's activated. So inside of my virtual environment, then we have all of the dependencies that we need. So here, after you activate it, then you would pip install all of your modules. In my case, it's just OpenCV and MediaPipe. So yeah, since I've already installed those modules, let's just get straight into the interactive demo, in which we're going to start coding face mesh. So the first thing I'm going to do, obviously, is just import them. So import CV2 and import MediaPipe. And then since I'm going to be using it multiple times, I'll say as MP, just so that I don't have to write it too much. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is just create a couple of variables just to set up. So this is not OpenCV yet, this is just setting up the drawings for the face mesh. So I'm going to say mp.drawing equals, and then mp, which is MediaPipe, dot solutions dot drawing utils. And then this will just set up the drawing. Then we'll say mp drawing styles, that'll be the next variable, mp drawing styles. Obviously you can call these variables whatever you want, but I'm just going to call these for simplicity what they're called in the MediaPipe documentation. So here we have mp.solutions again, and then we're going to use a different function this time, drawing styles. So this is why I'm calling them the variables. So mp drawing styles, just drawing styles. And then last one we're going to do is mp face mesh. And then this is going to be the actual solution for the face mesh. This will actually run all the algorithms. So mp face mesh. And then that will be equal to mp.solutions dot face underscore mesh. And then that's the function for that. Alright, so now that we have our face mesh variables concluded, let's actually get the webcam input. So I'm just going to make our cap variable again. And normally whenever you have webcam input with CV2 or OpenCV, you make a variable called cap, and then you say cv2.video capture. And then that's a function, and then we're going to say 0, or in our case, and then we're going to say 0 since I'm using my webcam. But if you had an external camera, then you would say 1. Okay, so 0, and then that's all for the video capture. Next up, we're going to say inside of the face mesh function, then whenever the webcam is opened, it needs to run the face mesh and then do all those things. So to run the face mesh thing, so we're going to say with mp face mesh, that's the variable we created right here. So with mp face mesh dot face mesh, that's a function inside of that we created. So inside of that, we're going to provide all of these parameters. So max num faces, that's just maximum number of faces that it will like do the face mesh thing on. So max num faces, and then we're just going to keep it at 1 because we don't want it, we're not doing anything else with it. So max num faces is 1. Refine landmarks, we want it to refine all of the face landmarks. So we're going to put that as true. Refine landmarks. And if you're going to do this face mesh thing, then you need to provide all of these parameters with whatever output you want, but you need to provide the parameters. So true, and then the minimum detection confidence and then the minimum tracking confidence, we need to do those. So I'm going to say min detection. So for those, it's both going to be 0.5, so it's 50% confidence. So that's that. And then that will be it for the face mesh. And then yeah, and then we're going to create that as a variable. So I'll just say face mesh. That word, whenever we say face mesh, that's just going to have all of these parameters, and that's going to get the face mesh. All right, so now inside of that, we'll have all of our stuff. So now again, like I said, since we are getting the webcam input, whenever the cap, which is the webcam input, whenever the cap is opened, then we want to read each frame and then apply the face mesh to that. So I'm going to say while, because while loop, while cap dot is opened, that's a function for saying if it's opened. So while cap is opened, then we should do all these things. So first of all, again, just like last video and all the videos that I do OpenCV webcam input with, if we're going to say success and image is cap.read. So this will just read the video capture. So success and then image equals cap.read. and then we're using the read function on that. And then now if it's not successful, so we just need to, if it's not successful, that means that there's no camera. That means there's no webcam or camera input. So we'll just say, just in case it's there, we want to gracefully handle that error. So if not success, then we're just going to print an error message, maybe like no, or maybe we'll just say empty camera frame ignoring process. All right, just like that. So that's just like an error message that we gave. And then after that, we're just going to continue with the program because we want it to gracefully handle that. So continue. All right. Then after that, now we're going to actually do the face mesh on this program. So again, we're going to have a little bit more of setup, and then we'll actually draw the face mesh annotations. So here, after, if it is successful while the video capture is open, then we're going to create a couple more variables. So we have our image, which is just the video capture. So .flags.writable. We want it to be false because we don't want it to be writable. All right, 1 second. Let me writable. Okay, and then that will be equal to false. Next up, we want to change the image variable to supply a certain color. So we're going to say cv2.cvt color, and then we're just going to supply that color here. So we want to put the color into image, and then we want to actually have the color. So I'm just going to copy paste that. And again, all of this code will be in the GitHub description in the link down below. And then after that, we're going to create one last variable, results. So this will just get the face mesh and our frame, which is each frame in the video capture. So it's going to combine those two and actually draw on it. So here we're going to have the results variable. So results equals face mesh, which is the function we created right here to do the face mesh. And then we're going to say dot process because we want to process it into the frame, and then image. All right, and image is ultimately what we're going to be showing back to us so that we can see each frame. So it's going to run this face mesh on every single frame. So that's what it's doing. All right, so now we want to actually tell the program that, hey, draw this, draw this, draw this on the image. So I'm going to say, I'm just going to overwrite these two variables. So we said it was false at first, and then we have the BGR color format, but now CV2 supports RGB color format, and we want to actually draw on it, so we're going to say it's true. So image.flags.writable, now we're going to change it to true, and then we're going to change it back to RGB color format. All right, so now we're going to actually draw. So if results, which is our variable, if results dot multi-face landmarks, because obviously we need to get all of the faces. So multi-face landmarks. Then we're going to have a for loop, and then for every face landmark it finds inside of the results.multiface landmarks, then it's going to draw onto that. So I'm going to have the for loop. So for face landmarks, face landmarks in results.multiface landmarks. So for every face landmark it finds inside of this web frame, then it's going to do this. And what it's going to do is we're going to have three different things. So first of all, we're going to have the iris, which will just point out your eyes. Then we're going to have a border on face and eyes and lips. And then finally, we'll have all of the separate landmarks, and then it'll draw triangles around that. So first of all, what we're going to do is let's just draw the border around the face, eyes, and lips, and then we'll do the next steps. So what we want to do first is we're going to use our mp.drawing variable. So for face landmarks, okay, so inside of that, now I'm going to say mp.drawing.draw landmarks. And then this is going to be the function that we're going to use for this whole thing, draw landmarks. And then this will actually draw all of the landmarks. And then we need to provide all of the parameters. So first of all, image is equal to image. That's obvious because we have our image variable, and then that's the parameter. And then landmark list, because we need to get the list of all the landmarks. So landmark list is equal to face landmarks. That's our variable that we created. And then next up, let me put commas here. And then next up, we need to have all of what we want to actually do. So in this case, actually, you know what? Let me just write a comment here. So this will be border around face, eyes, and lips. Okay, so for that, then next thing we want to do is actually tell the program that, hey, do it around the face, eyes, and lips. So we're going to say connections is equal to np.facemesh, which is our variable again. So np.facemesh dot, and then here is where it changes. So facemesh and then underscore contours. And then the contours variable, that will get the border around the face, eyes, and lips. All right, so that, and then landmark drawing spec. So landmark drawing spec, we don't need that, so we're just gonna say none. And then, oh, what is, no, just none. Okay, okay, there we go. And then after that, we need to connect the drawing style. So all the way up here, we did the mp.drawingstyles. So now we need to connect that to what we're drawing right here. So I'm going to say connection drawing spec. That's another parameter you need to add, equals, and then mp.drawingstyles. So I just copied that in. All right, and then finally, last thing we need to do is we're just going to say dot get. So all of this dot get default face mesh contours. So that's just the function so that it gets all of the default face mesh contours style. And what the face mesh contours is that's just basically going to get the contours around your face, which includes the eyes, lips, and the border around your face. So that's what that is. So that's just creating the border around the face, eyes, and lips, but then we need to do the iris and all of the different landmarks. So right now we can actually just run this just so that we can see the border around the face, eyes, and lips. But we need to now it's just stored in a variable, but we need to print that, we need to show that back to us so that we can actually see the output. So here outside of the if command, I'm just going to go back here. Then we're going to say cv2.imshow, and then we're using OpenCV to show it back to us. And then what parameters we need to add is whatever the title is going to be. I'm going to just call it image, and then cv2.flip, because we just want to flip this image so that it's accurate. And then we're going to say image1. And then finally, I'm just going to use this, code so that I can stop the code whenever I need to. So that's that. And then finally, we need to actually release this handle back to us. So I'm going to say cap.release. All right, so there we go. And then we need parentheses here, obviously. And yeah, that's all we need to do to actually create a successful face mesh program. And oh, actually, yeah, okay, that's good. But we need to unindent this. I indented all this wrong. Okay, so that's good. Alright, so now if I go ahead and run it, then what it should do is it should just have a border around my eyes, lips, and then the border around my face. So let's test it out. Alright, so as you can see, it just has this little message here, and then if I go to this tab, then here we go. And right now it looks pretty weird, but as you can see, we have a border around two of my eyes, my eyebrows, and even if my mouth moves, then it even puts the border around my lips. And then obviously we have the border around my face. And even if I move my face, then it still changes. And if I blink my eyes, then it also closes the eyes on the thing too. And then obviously whenever I talk, the lips move also. And even my eyebrows, see if I do this, then my eyebrows move too. So there we go. That's a successful face mesh program. It detected and started tracking our faces, and then it started adding images onto it, which in this case was just the border. Next up, let's do the iris part. So right now we have our border around our face, eyes, and lips, but let's say we wanted to detect our iris also. So we can do that with face mesh also. So here I'm just going to copy and paste this whole section right here. And then basically it's the same thing, the MP drawing, draw landmarks, all that. So here we're going to actually indent this and then indent this. And then the only thing that's different is that now we're changing the function here. So instead of face mesh contours, now for iris, it's called face mesh irises. So face mesh _ irises. Irises. That's how you spell it. So otherwise everything is same except for this function also. So for this one it would be face mesh iris. So I'm just going to change this iris connections because it's connecting all the irises. Alright, so now it should have the same thing except it should add our iris also. So let's go back to terminal and test that out. So if we go back to this, then here we go. So as you can see on my iris, you can see that it has like a little trapezoid, or not trapezoid, rhombus. So, and then if I blink my eyes, then again it changes like that. But just so that we can see that more clearly, the iris, I'm going to comment out the border around the face, eyes, and lips also, just so that we can see the iris. Okay, here we go. Oh, invalid syntax. Let's see this. Oh, sorry. I forgot to comment this out. Okay. All right. Then here we go. So now you can see it just shows my iris. So there we go. That's how to, in face mesh, that's how to put a border around our face, eyes, lips, and also our iris. Now, finally, this is the last thing we have to do in face mesh. This is actually going to have all 468 face landmarks, and it'll draw triangles around each one. So again, I'm going to copy and paste this. Okay, and then unindent that because it's indented weird. Okay, here we go. And then again, we're changing the function here. Instead of face mesh irises, now it's called face mesh tessellation. And tessellation is basically getting all of the landmarks and then just showing those. So face mesh tessellation. 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 Spelled that wrong. Okay. And then finally, this is not iris connections. Instead, it's just called tessellation. Tessellation. Alright, so if we run that now, then let's see. Okay, seems to have worked. Okay, yeah, there we go. So as you can see, it looks a little bit weird right now, but as you can see, if I put it closer, then you can see there's each different landmark on my face, and it's drawing a triangle around each 468 landmarks. And if you actually connected the dots, and if you pointed out all of these little dots that connect, then there is 468 for all of the different landmarks in my face. And as you can see, even if I move my face around, then the landmarks also move with them. So there we go. This is what face mesh is in MediaPipe. That's face mesh with MediaPipe and Python. Alright, so that was face mesh in Python using the module called MediaPipe. And I will be doing more videos on MediaPipe, so stay tuned for those. Thanks very much for watching. If y'all had any doubts, please comment down below. I would love to help you out if you're stuck with any Python MediaPipe questions or issues. Please like, subscribe, all that jazz. Until then, you can learn anything.